Recording. All right, hello. So this is my presentation on JavaScript for the programming languages class. For this presentation, I picked JavaScript, mostly because it's just the language that I've used the most. And also right now, JavaScript is definitely one of the most popular languages around the entire world, honestly. It's fundamental to web development. It's a cornerstone of a language, and its ecosystem is massive. And since it wasn't on the list for languages that we weren't allowed to talk about, there's no way that I couldn't have picked this language. So first, let's talk about why JavaScript. So what even is JavaScript? We'll touch on this, and then the original goal of JavaScript and why it was invented. And then we're going to touch on modern uses and how it's really used in the world today, and then a little bit more about this presentation we'll be talking about later. So, why was JavaScript created? Well, JavaScript was created to solve the static web issue. So, in the early 90s and late 80s, the internet was obviously exploding in popularity, and people needed websites to, do various things, for businesses or person, that's self-explanatory why people need websites, right? But as part of this, the issue though was that basically websites were just HTML and CSS, meaning that they were essentially static. If you wanted to change anything, or if you wanted to have an interactive web page, you had to update and send an update request to the server every single time. So JavaScript was first born in 1995 at Netscape Communications. It was originally credit goes to Brendan Eich, and he basically laid out the framework and invention and the concept for JavaScript. So the problem that it basically aims to address is that websites are mostly static, and there's little interaction. There's a lot of things that you couldn't do. For instance, there's like no client-side validation on forms. Interactive animations didn't exist. And then also logical statements. So if you wanted business logic on a website, it was very hard to do that without having an external server that you had to update every time, which in turn was very slow. So the solution that was come up with was JavaScript, and it should be mentioned obviously that the name of JavaScript actually went through a lot of changes. So originally it started as Mocha, and then it was called LiveScript, and then finally it was decided on JavaScript. But even today, JavaScript has different languages. So there is a standardized language called ECMA, which is another language that is basically JavaScript, but it's regulated and controlled by the ECMA Foundation, and they set guidelines and standards for what JavaScript should be. So the name, it has a lot of different names, but essentially it is the online web language used to build basically everything. So essentially, this language can run anywhere. So it can run on the browser, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, all of these. They all have JavaScript engines. They can also run outside the browser. So this is a really big deal. So when Node.js was invented, it allowed JavaScript to run anywhere in the browser, outside of the browser, outside of the browser. So essentially, you could execute JavaScript code on a server and build web applications front end all the way to the back end, only using JavaScript essentially. And what's also really nice about it is that it is basically the most widely used language anywhere. So it is built on every platform you can think of, every browser, everything can run JavaScript, like everything. So how does it run? So interpreted versus compiled. So traditionally it's called an interpreted language, so it runs line by line. But the modern reality is that it uses just-in-time execution. The engines compile parts of it to basically machine code that's super fast, and then it compiles it as it's needed. So you get much better performance. All these standards are, like I said, are set by the ECMA. It's also a very flexible language, so it's not even constrained to one type of programming language. So you can use imperative. It also supports object-oriented programming and also functional programming. It even has first-class citizens. It is incredible. It can do basically anything. Whatever style of programming you want, you can do it. It also supports dynamic typing. So basically, you can set whatever variable you want. You don't have to strict type any languages, which is actually what TypeScript aims to achieve in helping with bugs that this causes, but also like weak typing. So the compiler will automatically, for instance, I have this example down here. If you try to add an integer to a string value, it'll automatically compile it together and turn it into a string. Now, this can lead to a lot of errors. And like I said before, this is what TypeScript was invented to address because of all the possible unforeseen issues that this can have, but this language is capable of doing this. Also, like scope. So the functions scoped are basically similar. They're similar to C, and var, for instance, is a global variable. But nowadays, we just use built-in functions, built-in data, all of that. And then also the last thing that I want to touch on that's really important is the ecosystem. The ecosystem of JavaScript is huge. It is unbelievable. This is what makes JavaScript JavaScript. You have so many fundamental frameworks that are even built on this. Like for instance, React. React is its own world, and also Angular, Vue, all of those. And then you also have backends, so you can build an entire server with JavaScript. This is exactly what Express was built to address. And also the Node Package Manager (npm) is basically is one of the best package managers you can use while developing. It is no question at all. And basically, yeah, so those are the final takeaways. The key strengths are that it's flexible, versatile, huge support. The challenges are that it has dynamic and weak typing, but obviously that can be addressed with TypeScript, and the importance of it cannot be understated. It is absolutely central to modern web development. It's basically everywhere. So that is my presentation. Thank you for paying attention and listening. And yeah, thanks.